Good morning. So welcome to our guided meditation Friday morning. Looks like we've got no technical problems. Sorry about last week where we started very late. So hopefully all will go well. So anyone who's new, we basically do an hour's meditation, about 20 minutes of guided, what we call mindful meditation, mindfulness of the breath. Calm abiding, it's called sometimes, shamatha, where we just rest our mind on one object so that we can give our mind a break from all the busy thoughts and come to a state of calmness, sometimes said to be bringing our mind to its natural state. So it's, as we all know, difficult times. Staying at home, just thinking about the order, we've got a government order to stay at home. So actually, it's an incredible opportunity to actually be told that we have to stay home and not do our normal routine, because it's actually like being told to do a retreat in a way, to just look at our minds. So we can take the expression stay at home in the physical sense, meaning that we don't wander out, but also the more esoteric sense, staying at home with the mind, with our internal world, what's happening, being aware of what's happening in our body, speech and mind, particularly our mind. So if we've got less distractions, we're less out there in the world, it's much easier to be aware of what's happening with our body, speech and mind. So in many ways, it's an opportunity this time to be at home. Okay, so just as usual, we usually start with a little quote from one of the great masters, this time Lama Yeshe, one of our founding spiritual founders of this organization, FPMT. Just before that, just if there is any technical problem, just feel free to, where it says say something on the side, just to let us know, because sometimes I can't tell what's happening. I can never tell whether the people receiving the broadcast are actually getting it loud and clear. Some people might be, some people might not. I'll keep going. Even if there are, last Monday we had problems with discovering Buddhism, and eventually there was nobody watching, but because they couldn't get us, couldn't get the reception. But I'll keep going because sometimes it still keeps recording on YouTube, and you can actually just find the whole, or what's left of the teachings if it doesn't record all of it on YouTube, so you can catch up later. So just, but it's good if you tell us if there's any problems. Also, any questions, any comments, you can just put it there. Good. Monique's watching. Thank you, Monique. It's good to see you there. Great. There's also, you're probably aware, there's a special Easter retreat being live streamed, the Tara retreat, led by Venerable Deki, starting this morning, going right through till Sunday. So you can tap into that at any time, for as long or short as suits you, as you've got time. So let's have a look just at this quotation. We're looking, this is Lama Yeshe from the book When the Chocolate Runs Out. He's talking about working without expectations. When we're doing our practice, meditation, either calm abiding meditation or analytical, not to have too many expectations. Don't expect too much. He says, just to quote, don't expect too much from your meditation. Too much expectation is a great hindrance to successful meditation. This superstitious attitude prevents us from being satisfied with our meditational experiences as they actually are, and continually forces us to compare these experiences with some imagined ideal. So we make ourselves so tense, anticipating expected experience that never comes. But this is easily understandable, being made tense. So how can bliss ever arise in a mind that is worried and uptight? If we're worried about achieving a state of meditation that we set ourselves, it's quite a tense state of mind, it's achieving a goal and then not getting there. So the only solution, he says, is to let go, relax the expectations. These expectations are a hindrance. Just let go of them as soon as they arise. Recognize them as arisen thoughts. In other words, we should be a little looser in our approach, a little looser. Sometimes we put too much energy into our practice. We discipline ourselves too severely, thinking that this will bring ourselves more closer to desired goals. But too much effort often has the opposite effect, prevents us our progress instead of helping our progress. So he gives a good example. He says, like the learner driver, the person learning to drive the car. He says, the learner driver is trying so hard to do everything correctly that if you're a passenger with the learner driver, it's actually quite a jolting experience, a jerky, uncomfortable ride. So experienced drivers, he says, on the other hand, are relaxed. They remain aware of what's going on. They've learned to let go and allow the car to drive itself. As a result, the ride is smooth and effortless. It sometimes feels as if the car were flying blissfully through the air rather than bouncing noisily along the road. So if we want to experience a similar bliss in meditation, we have to learn to let go of our expectations, decrease our excessive self-conscious efforts, self-conscious, bringing the self in. We can leave the self out. Just do the practice. So let's just do the practice, the mindfulness practice, and enjoy our staying at home experience. Okay, so just get comfortable physically. Make sure we've got a good posture, sitting on the chair or the floor, reasonably straight back. Can be lying down, evenly balanced on the floor of the chair. Just checking our motivation to start off with. Our motivation includes just being grateful, acknowledging this amazing chance that we have. Even with all the restrictions, we can still do a practice. Thanks to the technology. In fact, it's got more opportunity in some ways to do the practices, taking care of our minds, looking after our sanity, our mental state. And we're doing our practices to calm our own minds, and by doing so, benefiting other beings. Ultimately, the practices are all for the benefit of all human beings and all other sentient beings. And then just briefly scanning the body, the upper body, the neck, the shoulders, and the head. Especially the fine muscles around the face and the eyes, breathing out any tension there. Eyes can be completely closed or just slightly open, gazing ahead. Feeling the weight of our body being supported by the earth, by gravity, and letting go. And then starting with the out breath, being aware of the out breath, and as we breathe out, have a sense of letting go of the physical tension in the body, or the mental tension in the mind. Nothing to hold on to, time to let go. As we each out breath, we relax more deeply. Gradually giving more attention to the breath, physical movement of the body with the breath, sensations, all the sensations, all the physical sensations of the breath, filling the body. Staying with the breath, full flow of the in-breath, full flow of the out-breath. Using the focus of the nostrils or the abdomen or the whole body, moving with each breath, whatever is most comfortable. And just resting our mind there, coming to rest there, watching, stepping aside, observing the breath. Checking where we are. Are we still with the breath? This is called introspection, this checking process, where we're just watching what's happening, monitoring, spying on our practice, quality control. When we notice we've wandered off on the breath, as we usually do, I do, we rejoice that we've seen that, we've caught the mind wandering, we've spotted it. Gently unhook our concentration, our focus from that object, that thought, that worry, sound, and very patiently come back to the breath, back to the breath. Staying with the breath, and when we wander, bring our attention back to the breath, coming home to the breath, staying home, resting on the breath. Just staying with the breath. As our mind settles, we can be more aware of the quality of the breath. Each breath slightly different to the previous one. bit longer, a little bit shorter. Whatever it is, we're there with it, noticing, aware, fully aware. Staying with the breath. If there are many thoughts, just watch them. There's the option of giving a label to the thought: anxiety, worry, distraction, boredom, hunger, whatever. Just give it a quick label and let it go. And then back to the breath. The peaceful stillness of the breath. Just relax, have a stretch, have a cup of tea. Okay, so for the second practice, I've chosen one of the negative emotions, which is attachment. Quite relevant, I think, at the moment. So our routines in our familiar world is changing, so we're forced to let go of a lot of things that we took for granted. Sometimes attachment's very difficult to identify, particularly because in our Western culture, we probably use it in the same sense as love and attachment. I'm very attached to my family, my friends, my pets, my routines, my religion. But in Buddhist psychology, the word attachment has different meanings, not love. It's more concerned with self, being drawn to something that we think is going to help us, this gives us pleasure, that we want more of, grasping at it. And the opposite is aversion, where we don't like, that doesn't help us. So, as most of the teachers say, Alan Wallace said this, he says, the near enemy of love is attachment. Most love is mixed with attachment. Because we're not enlightened beings, there's usually a lot of self involved in someone we love, because we still have this clinging to self. And that's said to be the ultimate cause of all our negative emotions. It's clinging, holding on to the physical reality of what we see out there, and holding on to this me inside as something very real, as if it exists concretely, independently. The practice is to see that all these things, the external phenomena and self, exist only dependently, dependent on cause and condition. There's no inherent. It's out there, and there's no inherent self inside. So these negative states, just looking at Kathleen MacDonald's introduction to the practice. So all these negative states, which includes anger, irritation, pride, depression, desire, including anxiety, probably quite strong at the moment. While they're considered negative, not because they're inherently evil or wrong, she said, but because they are delusions. They distort or paint a false picture of reality. And also because they lead to unhappiness, confusion, and problems. So, with the right tools and understanding, if we contemplate, meditate repeatedly on how these negative emotions work, every experience arising in our mind, negative and positive, can be a constructive step on our path to liberation, she says. So, it is really hard sometimes to identify attachment, but I think Lama Yeshe has this terrific scenario that actually will give us a very experiential idea of attachment. So just reading again from his book, When the Chocolate Runs Out, attachment and release is the heading. No matter how much of something you get, never satisfies your desire for better or more. This unceasing desire is suffering. Its nature is emotional frustration. So then we've actually done, for the older students who will remember this, he gives this scenario for us to contemplate. We're in a room and a friend comes in with a delicious chocolate cake. You can imagine delicious hot cross buns or Easter eggs at this time. And the friend gives the delicious chocolate cake to just one person in the room. And then that one person sits and eats the entire cake in front of the rest of us without sharing. So, watching what happens to our mind, he says, we're going to get upset, aren't we? We're going to be completely jealous and angry. That's how the mind works. Instead of rejoicing, thinking, isn't he kind? That man brought a delicious cake all this way for that person. I hope that person really enjoys it, that's rejoicing in somebody else's good fortune. So if we look carefully, he says, we actually feel hurt because we missed out. Check the psychology, he says. On the surface, it looks as though it's all about the chocolate cake. But if we go more deeply, we'll find that our minds are really thinking, what I want is for me to be happy. I don't want her to be happy. So when you see this clearly, just as attachment, it has less power over you. So there's many different ways of tackling attachment, which we do in this meditation. But Lamy, as she's saying, this just recognition of the energy force of attachment, and he calls this pure thought, being aware of the workings of attachment, how it's happening. The kind of thought that points to liberation. So he says you don't have to strain yourself. I want pure thought. I must have pure thought. Just clearly see the way attachment gives rise to ideas in your mind. Pure thought will come of its own accord. When pure thoughts come, your life naturally becomes positive. So just making yourself familiar, he says, with the attitude of attachment, with the attachment trip and how the mind of attachment interprets things, you'll find your life becomes much easier. Your mind becomes much less unwieldy. Sometimes it's said that attachment's like cleaning an oily rag. It's very difficult to get out. Anger, by contrast, is usually very quick, easy to spot, and ends quickly. Whereas attachment are harder to spot, more subtle, and more longer lasting, harder to eliminate. So then he just says, what's not attachment? Don't think that you have to give up everything. There's nothing wrong with having pleasures and enjoyments, he said. What's wrong is the confused way that we grasp at these pleasures. Enjoy your material life, he says, as much as you can. At the same time, understand the nature of enjoyment, the hallucinatory, impermanent nature of these objects that you're enjoying, and the mind that experiences that enjoyment and how they relate. And he says this is renunciation, becoming more reasonable, knowing the characteristics of pleasure and the objects of pleasure. He says this is the true purpose of religion. Understanding this deeply is the true purpose of religion. So in the actual practice, we actually just use 4 techniques to deal with attachment. They're all related. First one is to contemplate the faults of attachment, how the mind sort of gets very excited. And so the actual practice suggests we remember a time when we were very in love, perhaps, so very attached to a particular person. Could be another sort of attachment that you might have. So it's fine. It's usually more vivid in the example of picking a past love that we've had and then it's broken up. uh, we actually just recall the state of mind, how excited we were, and how difficult it was to part from that person, and how, when it all ended, how we suffered, and how we actually overestimated the whole experience. Then the next one is contemplate impermanence, how impermanence pervades everything. Very good practice to do at the moment. We've just lost our familiar world, all our routines, all our expectations of what happens in the world, even the economy. Just so this time of uncertainty could be more extreme in a way. So this is impermanence. It's impermanence in action. Contemplate death, the third technique, the ultimate detaching. Whatever things we're attached to now, including our body, we have to release. So we actually just, by contemplating the certainty of death, uncertainty of time of death, we practice letting go. The last one, contemplating emptiness, which is the ultimate remedy, cure for all attachment and all delusions, all our problems, all the reasons that we're in this situation, cyclic existence, all the reasons we suffer and we don't want to. So emptiness is giving recognition to the fact that everything is dependent, arising dependently on causes, condition. Nothing is existing from its own side, including ourselves. Just this realization of interdependence is very helpful to tackle attachment. So that's the practice, and we'll move through it. So just remember that any particular kinds of attachment you might have experienced or be experienced, you can use that. And I guess even the current experience of being detached from all our routines, our work, our certainties, what we thought were certainties, we can contemplate that. Okay, so let's start. Coming into our calm state of mind, our mindfulness practice, a few moments to just focus on the breath. Allow the mind to settle. So we just begin our practice on dealing with attachment and with the negative emotions by bringing to mind a time when we were very attached to a particular person. Probably better to not include family members, but maybe a love affair, someone we were very close to, someone that we have since become less close to or no longer have any connection with. And recall our state of mind, that excited state of mind. Wanting to be only with that person. Seeing that person as 100% good, positive, fulfilling all our needs, all our expectations. Making us feel whole. Were we very absorbed in our own feelings, our own experiences? Noticing that very excited, disturbed state of mind. We probably had little time to think of others, just obsessed by our own excitement. not wanting to be separated from that person, and then when we were separated, the pain, the difficulty, the yearning. So this up and down, excitement, and then followed by suffering, and we're without what we want. And then when it's all over, an unhappy state of mind, perhaps depression, perhaps wishing to harm that person. How much did that experience ultimately satisfy us? It actually probably ended in dissatisfaction. So this feeling of being drawn to a particular person or object, holding out great hopes, putting in positive qualities that may not be there, exaggerating the qualities that are there. Can apply this to the precious antique that we got from our relatives, suddenly broken. The antique watch we lost, suddenly lost and gone. And more recently, the coronavirus disrupting all our routines, our enjoyments. So by grasping at these persons, experiences, objects, it makes it very difficult when we have to let go, recognizing that disadvantage, that emotional suffering we create for ourselves. This is the disadvantage of attachment, holding too tightly, grasping. Could be also to our practice, wanting to be a perfect meditator. Then, second way of dealing with attachment, impermanence. Recognizing that these experiences, before, during and after we have them, are impermanent. For the person we're very physically attracted to, imagining them as all persons. Will we still be attracted? The wrinkles, loss of vitality, loss of vitality. Also, another way of dealing with attachment to a particular person or body is to analyze the constituents, the organs, the parts, the blood, the unclean aspects, the excrement, the bones, the waste. Seeing the other side of this superficial attachment. So beyond the attraction to the person, attraction to our own state of mind, our own routines, our disrupted, the physical world, the economy, the world. All going through incredible change, upheaval, impermanence. Recognize it's the nature of existence, impermanence. Third way of dealing with impermanence is contemplating certainty of death. So those persons we love and attach to, some of them we will lose during our lifetime. They will die. We've already experienced that, loss, grief. Death is certain. Time of death uncertain. The only thing that will help at the time of death is our mind, our mental development, a calm state of mind. And then finally our own death will happen, certain, time of uncertainty, the ultimate form of detachment. Nothing will help, all our possessions, we let go at the time of death. All our friends, relatives, loved ones, pets, time to let go, they won't help. The only thing we're left with is our mind at the time of death. All our positive actions of body, speech and mind, planting positive seeds on our mind stream, positive karmic imprints, these help at the time of death. The subtle mind is all that we have to go to the next life. So of reality, emptiness, all helps at the time of death. This helps loosen attachment during our lifetime and the time of death. Finally, meditating on emptiness, the ultimate solution, the ultimate remedy for attachment. And in our contemplation on emptiness, we do two things: contemplate the I that is attached and the object to which we're attached. So the I, the one that wants the object, the one that grasps the person, the object, the experience. Try and find that I. Can't find it in the body. Can't find it in all the mental experiences that we have, positive, negative, ups and downs, all the mental events. There's no single, unchanging I there. It's a river of changing mental experiences. Recognizing this helps us to loosen, let go of the I, source of all happiness, all success, letting go of the I. And the object that we're attached to, recognizing that in the same way, is not independent, it's dependent, subject to cause and conditions, change, impermanence. Just recognizing, as Lama Yesi says, the way attachment works in our mind. How the mind wants the chocolate cake, just recognizing that, seeing it as pure thought, the way to freedom, liberation. So, the conclusion is, attachment has so many shortcomings. Seeing the nature of the I that is attached, and nature of the object we're attached to, we can let go. See things as they are by letting go. It's easier to develop loving kindness, compassion, and wisdom. Just by being mindful of our body, speech, and mind is pure thought. Is pure thought. Just being aware of what's happening. So being dedicated to that end, may the mindfulness in our practice in meditation be carried over into our daily life, fully aware of body, speech, and mind, what's happening. Recognizing. So in the last couple of minutes, I'm just going to read dedication. I'm going to use His Holiness the Dalai Lama's favourite dedication that actually comes from Shantideva, the great Indian master. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored and find repose. May the naked find clothing and the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. And may the forlorn find hope. And may the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains, bountiful harvests. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed, and the powerless find power. And may people think of benefiting each other. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. I see some feedback. Thank you. Some buzzing or that's thanks, Monique. I've got that message. We'll get Ben, our techno person, to look into that. But thanks for being there. Wonderful to be able to chat, to be there, be with you. I'll be back next Friday. And remember, all our teachings online. Everything's online now. And stay calm, stay well, and mindful. Okay, I'm ending the stream. Take care.